Now, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana delivers his medium-term budget today. He faces quite a tough balancing act as South Africa's growth slows down. Our team is in Cape Town this morning. Business anchor Rofhiwa Madzena is at the Cape Town City Hall, of course, joining us this morning to give us just a glimpse of what to expect come 2 p.m. this afternoon. Rofhiwa, good to have you and good morning to you, colleague. I mean, so much expectation from civil society, the private sector. I spoke to Christopher van der Riede from the agricultural sector, and I just wonder, what is the consensus on the ground from where you stand and expectations from the minister, the finance minister, today?
A very good morning to you, Dumela, from a lovely sunny Cape Town. And of course, this midterm budget policy statement is just an indication of how the budget has been distributed throughout the course of this financial year. And of course, giving us a sense of a direction in terms of what the minister and his team are going to be focusing on when it comes to allocations in the new financial year in February. And of course, there are a lot of considerations that the minister has to take into place. We've got the state-owned entities, issues around wages, taxes, grants. The list goes on, but he does have to prioritize, and it's a difficult one for him. I've got Mr. Matthew Parks from COSATU who joins me this morning to speak about what, from a COSATU point of view, what the minister should be focusing on in terms of indicating the direction that the actual budget will look like in February based on what he says today.
Sure. Look, we appreciate the minister's got a lot of many competing demands to address, and he must address all of them. We don't think we can afford to sacrifice them. We hope that government will send a signal that it's going to respect public servants, respect workers, the right to earn a living wage, the right to have the wage protected from inflation. So they need to engage with the public servants unions in good faith. Let's find a way to address the concerns, but we can't afford for politicians to continue to pickpocket the nurses, the teachers, the police officers who have been praising for keeping us safe, for delivering public services for the past few years. We think government needs to address the fundamental crisis of the fiscal constraints we're facing, which is the billions we lose to corruption, to wasteful expenditure, to the dysfunctional municipalities, the SOEs which are limping along, where he has to address those things. We would hope that he would announce a debt relief package to Eskom, which is the most fundamental economic asset we have, cut his debt by at least 200 billion rand so he can focus on investing in maintenance and generation to end the load shedding, because that's going to grow the economy, to enable all companies to operate, to pay their workers. We need to see similar measures given to Transnet, which is critical to our exports, helps create jobs in mining, manufacturing, agriculture. Similarly for Metro Rail, which is key to transporting 10 million commuters in our cities. We do hope that government will announce measures to help workers in terms of presidential employment program to help 2 million young people to find jobs, to get experience. We hope government will announce the extension of the SOG grant beyond next year, because that's giving relief to 10 million unemployed persons. Let's see if we can increase it to the food poverty line. Let's help its recipients to find skills programs, to find job placement programs. Those are critical to growing the economy. But government also has to tackle corruption. We can't afford to bleed so much in the state. There is some good progress we've seen in the South African Revenue Service, where there have been a lot of good efforts by its staff to rebuild SARS. That's helped to generate an additional 80 billion rand to the fiscus this year. So government should give more resources to SARS to employ more staff, to invest more in its technology, because that can tackle all the billions we lose to tax evasion every year. That's going to ease the pressure on the state. But government also, if it wants to address the many challenges it's facing, it needs to grow the economy. So let's fix Transnet, Eskom, Metro Rail, the SOEs, local government. But let's also stimulate the economy, because if you can grow the economy, people can have jobs, they can get paid, they can buy the goods we produce. It creates a cyclical benefit that enables government to collect more revenue to pay down the debt. But the approach of government has been to simply outsource the bill to nurses and doctors, to public servants, which is not solving anything, is making it much worse.
Yeah, and when we talk about there being budget for all these important elements that you've just mentioned, the conversation around taxes come into play, and a lot of civil society and related stakeholders have complained about the direction that government has taken when it comes to corporate tax in particular. What are your thoughts in terms of the direction that we should be going in, given the current circumstances and the priorities as you've just highlighted there?
Yeah. So we do think the wealthy need to pay their fair share of taxes. We've seen tax adjustments below inflation, VAT increases, which really have hit working class families much harder, who have less disposable income than the wealthy do. We think that's not right. The wealthy should be paying their fair share of tax. I think for us, the number one issue we'd hope to get out of the budget is simply say, what support can we give the South African Revenue Service, who've done well to rebuild it over the serious damage done to it by the decade of state capture under the previous leadership of SARS. Let's give them the support. So SARS has employed an additional 490 staff. Let's give them more resources to employ more staff, invest more in their capacity, because they can then tackle tax evasion and customs fraud. We have a tax compliance rate of about 60%. In Europe, it's about 90%. If we can just increase it by 5%, that will generate an additional 100 billion rand revenue to the state, which will help us in many, many fronts. I think for us, that's the number one priority. Let's capacitate SARS, let's invest in it, because that's going to provide a significant return on investment. If you look at the successes of the Madiba and the Mbeki administrations that are on many fronts, it is because we had a well-run, well-led SARS. We're now beginning to turn the corner on that front. Let's invest more in it. But it does mean that we have to also deal with the leakage in the state, because you can't collect on the one hand and then you lose billions of rands on corruption across so many departments, so many entities, so many municipalities. So you need to do both at the same time.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. That is Matthew Parks of COSATU giving us a sense on what government should be prioritizing in terms of the outlook for allocations in the national budget in February next year. Transnet, Eskom, SARS, the vehicles that can get economic growth back on its feet once again, Dumelo.
Indeed, Rofhiwa, quite a tough task, of course, for the finance minister to ensure that he allocates that priority to different sectors and also prioritizing, the public sector as well. But thank you for this. We'll be sure to catch up with you, Rofhiwa Madzena, throughout the day.